can stay here, but you gotta sit, okay? You gotta sit down. I recently read and watched Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, or if you've seen the film, it's named Knock at the Cabin, and that is by M. Night Shyamalan. I initially ate through the first half of this book. The first part of it was very intriguing. I was hooked. Honestly, when it kind of slowed down for me was when they fought on like the second day, when they were kind of going through the same rigmarole. I was like, all right, like I know where this is going. And I was also reading Dante's Inferno at the same time, and I think that's kind of where that got me hung up. It wasn't that the book slowed down or anything, or that the pacing changed, it was just me. But it did take me a little while to get through this, just because after I was taken out of it, it took me a minute to get back in, and I'm gonna go over kind of why. So if you've never heard of this story before, it takes place in a tiny little remote cabin where a couple and their daughter have gone for vacation. They're just spending their time relaxing, trying to stay away from the world. They have no cell service, no TV, or they have one but they don't watch it. They're just there to kind of reconnect with each other and enjoy their time as a family. The book opens up with the daughter Wynne. She is outside playing with grasshoppers when a very strange and large man approaches her named Leonard. He starts talking to her as if they were friends, starts asking her questions. He's helping her catch grasshoppers, and she starts getting this feeling that maybe she shouldn't be talking to him and she should go get her dad's. And before she can leave, Leonard looks at her and says something along the lines of, I have a task for your parents. They have to do it. You have to get them to listen to me and let me in the cabin because the whole world's at stake. So this little girl gets scared, runs to find her dad's, and before she can get to them, realizes that there are 3 other people walking up the driveway with devices that are not intended to be put to good use. Again, starting off very, very strong. They manage to get into the cabin, and I'm going to try not to give away too many spoilers, but to really get across how I feel about it, I may have to, so just a heads up beforehand. But the group manages to get into the cabin, and they tell them that they must choose one family member to prematurely expire, or the rest of the world will end. And they go about convincing them in the weirdest ways. Our 2 main characters, Andrew and Eric, are Wynne's dads. They are both very smart and very put together men, but the problem is they kind of fall apart after Eric gets a very severe concussion. It seems like he is the one who is more adept at talking his way out of things and talking to people, but this injury that he receives causes him to have a lot of trouble focusing. He can't really think through what's happening clearly, and a lot of his past beliefs start to crop up and affect the way that he is seeing the situation. Andrew is also a very strong character. He spends a lot of his time trying to save his family. They refuse, and every time they do, someone else must be given up. I'm having a hard time like trying to word this in the best way possible. But even through all that stress, Andrew keeps it together really well. And I love that Wynne doesn't spend the entire time crying or freaking out. She's just very composed and shuts down. And I really enjoyed the main characters in this a whole lot. I also liked the intruders as well. There's Sabrina, Leonard, Redman, who is not who he says he is, and Adrian. And this group has come together with the belief that the world is going to end unless they take care of this very specific task that they put to this family. If it is not done, they will release the plagues that will bring about the end of the world. Now, I can't remember exactly if they actually use the word plagues in the book or if it's just a film thing. Part of me kind of liked that, but I'll get to the film here in just a little bit. Overall, I do think that I enjoyed the book a whole lot more, especially the ending. I think that Eric's concussion and the injury that he has, just everything that this family goes through is played out very well. I was devastated by the end, honestly. I was very heartbroken for them because you can tell they just did their very best with this horrible, horrible situation that they should have never been put in. One thing I kind of did have a problem with is how open-ended it left itself. I am one to love books that are left for interpretation. I like making up my own mind when it comes to stories. If there are questions left unanswered, that's okay by me. But this one, I wish that I'd had some more information on why this was happening and what exactly was going on. I did love that the book left the ending open-ended because I have no issues with that. You don't actually know if the world's ending. You just kind of know that they're done with the situation and now they have to pick up the pieces of their lives and move on. So essentially to them, the world has ended. They just don't know if it's only them or the rest of the world as well. Now, the problems that I did have open-ended was more so on behalf of the group that shows up. Some of the questions are kind of answered by Sabrina when she goes on this long-winded rant about how she got where she's at, how she got involved with the group. They all kind of seem like, I don't even know how to explain it. They were all just in this shared mindset, I guess is the best way to put it. They met up and things just kind of got out of hand from there. They try to play it off like it's some predestined thing, that they were all brought together by one force, but you never really get a concise answer to that. And also, a lot of the things that happen in this that kind of make you question whether it's happening or not, they tell them they have to choose. If they don't, then one of the intruding party has to be taken out, I guess, on their behalf. And in the movie, they consider that releasing the plagues. And this, again, I don't remember if they used that word exactly, but after that happens, they turn on the TV and some wild calamity has happened. The first one is a massive earthquake and tsunami that happened. The next is a very widely spread outbreak of sickness. And then the last one is planes falling from the sky. So when it comes to the film by M. Night Shyamalan, and if you haven't seen any of Shyamalan's work, you have probably heard that he's pretty hit or miss. His stronger movies are ones like Sixth Sense, I would say probably Unbreakable, The Village, Signs, like anything like that I would start with. But his other ones are just fun. So I consider him like a nostalgic, and I wouldn't say like my favorite director and writer of all times, but he's pretty close up there just because you can watch anything of his and you're going to be entertained no matter what. This one kind of left me disappointed, honestly. It didn't feel like it had that M. Night spin on it, and what they did change was not something I was exactly excited for. I did finish the movie before I finished this book. I got impatient and decided to grab it from the library because I saw it. I don't necessarily regret that because they differ so much by the halfway point. So everything leading up to Adrian giving herself up was pretty spot on for the book. There were some things that were a little bit alternated. I love Dave Bautista as Leonard. He is massive, and I think that watching him in Guardians of the Galaxy, for some reason he looks way smaller to me than he did in this film, but he is just a powerhouse. Like, you see, when I saw him, I was like, oh my god, like they couldn't have picked anybody better for that part, just because of his presence and like how he holds himself in it. Rupert Grint was really funny to see in this as well, mostly because I haven't seen him in anything else. But the funniest thing to me about him being in this film was him attempting to hold himself as a redneck. He did a great job. I'm not saying he did bad or that I didn't enjoy his performance, but it just caught me off guard so much. But around the point where Adrian gives herself up, that's when things change a whole lot. There are characters that are handled in a completely different way. My biggest problem with the film, in the book, they tell them that they must choose. If they don't, someone is given up on their behalf, and immediately following, they turn on the TV and there's some worldwide calamity that's happening, whether it's an earthquake, a tsunami, worldwide sickness that's being passed around, planes falling from the sky. Even as Andrew says in the book, these things are all pre-recorded. They knew that it was going to happen. They've been meticulously timing this. In the movie, I don't remember him saying anything like that. Maybe I missed it because I tend to tend to kind of doze off a little bit sometimes nowadays. But I think that was one thought I had, was they are not bringing enough attention to the fact that these things are happening and they're showing to them and saying, we are releasing these plagues, we are the ones doing this, and it's your fault because you're not choosing. When in reality, the worldwide sickness that's been happening, Andrew in the book says, I've been following this for months. I've been knowing that it's been going on. It's not them doing it. And there's just so many excuses as to, or like reasons as to why this could be happening. The movie just kind of plays it off as like they are actually releasing this. And at first I was like on board because I was like, maybe the book explains this a little bit better. It's not the same. Two of the characters are taken out in completely different ways. We'll say three. The last three end up being removed in very different ways from what the film shows. And Sabrina ends up helping them, like trying to get away. And when it comes to the ending, I think that's what bothers me the most. In the film, it is so much different. It kind of makes sense for the way that they changed it, because in the end they decide one of them probably does need to give themselves up to save the rest of the world. And so there's that whole thing. And two characters make it out, but one of them is not the same as who makes it out in the book. That's the best way I can do that without spoiling horribly. In the book, Eric is so concussed that he can't think straight. His past religious beliefs are starting to come back to haunt him. He's not really making a lot of sense, and he's convinced that it has to be him. They have to make a decision. You don't know if the world is actually ending. They don't know if it's just their world that has fallen apart because of things that have happened that I won't go into, or if everyone else in the world is suffering just as much as them. So that's something that kind of gets left open into this. In the movie, we do not get that, but there was just something about the movie that it ended, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna finish the book now. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad I didn't give up because of the movie, because I don't know, I just really enjoyed the way this ended so much more. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Cabin at the End of the World or Knock at the Cabin. If you are interested in either of these, I really recommend you reading the book instead of watching the movie. And I love M. Night Shyamalan, so I hate saying that, but I think you're going to get a lot more out of it if you read this. If you have seen the movie and you had hoped for more or kind of a different outcome, definitely pick this up because it ends so much differently than the film. I hope I didn't give too much away. Thank you all for listening to me ramble about this book. As always, I hope you have a great day, an even better week, and until next time, happy reading.